It feels like technology, especially AI, is just changing how we work faster than ever before. Maybe you've seen new tools popping up or heard colleagues talking about it.
Oh, definitely. It's a feeling a lot of people share, I think. Because it's true, we're really in the middle of something fundamental changing in the world of work.
And that's exactly what we're doing today, right? A deep dive into this whole thing.
Yep.
The transformative impact of artificial intelligence AI on, well, how we work, where we work, maybe even what we actually do.
And this deep dive, it's built just for you, actually. Pulled directly from a whole stack of your sources, articles, research papers, even your own notes.
Right.
So it gives us a pretty comprehensive view, everything from like how job roles are shifting to the bigger economic picture policy stuff.
Our goal here is really to cut through some of the noise, pull out the essential insights, the surprising bits from these sources, and just give you a clear understanding of what this huge shift means for you.
Think of us as your guides, maybe, navigating all this information together, making sure you feel well-informed, but not completely swamped by it all.
Okay, so let's start with maybe the most immediate question. AI and your role. Is it augmentation or replacement?
Yeah, that's the big one.
And one of the most compelling things across your sources is this idea. It's not really the simple sci-fi robot takeover story.
Not at all, yeah.
The real story seems to be augmentation over automation. AI is reshaping jobs, taking the routine stuff.
The tedious bits.
Exactly, letting humans focus on higher value work, creativity, judgment, that kind of thing.
That's the core theme, really.
Yeah.
The sources strongly emphasize AI as a productivity multiplier. It takes on those repetitive elements,
Right.
allowing people and teams to achieve a lot more. I mean, look at that McKinsey statistic your sources mentioned.
Yeah.
Generative AI just in customer care, it could boost productivity by 30 to 45%.
Wow. That's huge.
It is. And partly it's because the AI can, draft personalized replies almost instantly.
And this isn't just one niche area, is it? McKinsey thinks generative AI could lift the whole U.S. labor productivity growth.
That's right. By 0.5 to 0.9 percentage points through 2030. That's a serious macroeconomic impact. We haven't really seen tech deliver that kind of boost in a while.
So why now? Is it because AI is moving beyond just physical tasks?
I think so, yeah. It's increasingly able to help with cognitive stuff too, planning, decision-making support.
Okay.
Your sources talk about this enabling a kind of super agency, like workers can use AI to extend their own capabilities, achieve things that were maybe out of reach before.
Which points straight towards role redesign, doesn't it? Rather than just job is gone.
Exactly. The MIT Sloan research you found is interesting here.
How so?
It shows that human AI teams might not always beat the very best human or the very best AI on like a super narrow task,
Right.
but where they really excel is in creative, open-ended work. Situations where you need human intuition and judgment alongside the AI's speed and, data crunching power.
Finding that sweet spot.
Right. It's about the blend. The examples in your sources are quite good. Financial analysts spending less time just processing data and more time interpreting these complex scenarios the AI generates, or customer service agents becoming more like AI supervisors.
AI supervisors, meaning they handle the tricky exceptions.
Exactly. The complex cases, the relationship building, while the AI handles the straightforward, common questions.
Okay, but if jobs are being redesigned, augmented,
Yeah,
that implies new skills are needed, right?
absolutely. And your sources show there's a significant skills premium already emerging for AI literacy.
People with AI skills are earning more.
Quite a bit more. The numbers are pretty striking. A global survey found workers with AI skills get a wage premium around 56%.
56%, wow.
Yeah, and that's up massively from just 25% the year before. PwC's jobs barometer found a similar 56% premium.
Even in the UK.
Even in the UK, yeah.
Yeah.
Computer Weekly reported an average 11% premium for AI skills there. Still significant.
But here's the flip side, isn't it? The training gap.
Yes. Huge challenge.
Your sources say something like 70% of core job skills are expected to change by 2030 because of AI.
That's the estimate, 70%. Yet, get this. Over 90% of professionals haven't had any formal AI training in the past year.
90% haven't. That gap is enormous.
And it's arguably one of the biggest hurdles. I mean, there are efforts like the UK planning to train 7.5 million workers by 2030.
That's a lot, but is it enough?
The scale of reskilling needed is just immense. It's a massive undertaking.
Okay, shifting slightly. Beyond skills and pay, what about the human factor? Job satisfaction.
Right. Your sources suggest AI could actually improve things there by taking over the tedious stuff, reducing cognitive overload. It potentially lets people focus on more engaging, more rewarding aspects of their work.
And it's becoming common, right? The MIT CISR stat says by 2027, something like 72% of knowledge workers will be collaborating with generative AI.
72%. Yeah, it shows how quickly this is becoming standard practice, not just some niche thing.
But it's not all rosy. There are potential downsides mentioned too.
Definitely. Your sources, like Business Insider, report that if AI is implemented badly or if it feels like, surveillance.
Like bossware.
Exactly. It can really damage morale, cause a lot of frustration. So, transparent communication, good training, they're absolutely crucial.
Which brings us to the ethical, privacy, and governance side of things.
Right.
This seems critical.
Non-negotiable, really. The sources highlight big concerns. Algorithmic bias creeping in, that bossware issue impacting privacy and worker autonomy. Plus, you're seeing more discussion around things like right to disconnect laws and the need for really clear, transparent rules about how AI is used at work.
So navigating all that ethically with solid governance is key.
Absolutely. Looking ahead, estimates suggest maybe 30% of current work hours could potentially be automated by 2030.
30%.
But the real strategic focus for companies isn't just automation, it's investing in upskilling, redesigning those roles thoughtfully.
Right. Leveraging both human and AI strengths.
Exactly, and building trust through that strong governance.
So when you hear all that augmentation, role redesign, this urgent need for skills, what does that picture mean for you? How does it resonate with your own experiences or what you expect for your career?
It's a fundamental shift, isn't it? It affects pretty much every field. Requires thinking ahead about skills and how work itself is changing.
And the changes aren't just about individual jobs. Let's dig into how AI is specifically changing the experience of remote or hybrid work, which, is the reality for so many now.
Yeah, the pandemic really threw that into high gear, didn't it? Accelerated remote and hybrid work. And quickly showed up the challenges. Coordination, communication across distance. And that's where AI is really stepping in.
To solve those problems.
Seems like it. Your sources have that Deloitte stat. 64% of remote employees in 2023 said they saw increased productivity specifically because of AI tools.
64%. That really shows a practical impact. And a big part of that seems to be virtual assistants and task automation.
Oh, huge. Taking over that routine admin work that just eats up time.
Like scheduling.
Exactly. Think about scheduling meetings across time zones, the endless back and forth, managing complex calendars, booking rooms or resources. AI can automate a lot of that.
Okay.
Your sources mention specific platforms like Yarvis for complex scheduling, and estimates suggest AI bots are saving managers and individuals on average 2-3 hours a week just on coordination tasks.
2 to 3 hours back per week. That adds up.
It really does. And communication gets easier too, with AI-powered transcription, translation, and summarization.
Right, the real-time transcripts in meetings.
Yeah, with really high accuracy and over 90% accuracy on platforms like Teams, Meet, Otter.ai. Real-time translation is getting much better too, breaking down language barriers.
And then summarizing it all.
Yep. Generative AI can take those transcripts and just spit out concise summaries, action items, key decisions. For distributed teams, that's incredibly valuable for alignment. No more hours spent manually writing minutes.
And it's not just separate tools, right? AI is being embedded into the main collaboration platforms.
Into things like Cisco WebEx, Zoom, using AI to, say, adjust your video quality automatically, suppress background noise.
The dog barking, the construction.
Exactly. Or even help you frame yourself better on camera. Little things that make the remote experience smoother.
And what about tools like Microsoft Places? Using AI to manage the hybrid office.
Yeah, that's interesting. It uses machine learning to optimize when people might come into the physical office.
How does that work?
It looks at team schedules, who else plans to be in, maybe meeting importance, even traffic data.
Oh, clever.
To suggest the best days to come in. The aim is to reduce that feeling of commute regret. You make the trip in and the person you needed is working from home anyway.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Okay, but with more digital work, there's also more monitoring, analytics, and productivity metrics using AI.
This is definitely a more controversial area.
Right.
Your sources say that by 2024, over 80% of organizations were planning some kind of AI-driven monitoring of digital activity.
80%, that's a lot.
It is. The potential upside, proponents say, is getting insights into work patterns, maybe spotting burnout risks early.
But the downsides?
Huge concerns. Privacy, obviously. The feeling of being constantly watched surveillance. And the risk that algorithms just misunderstand complex work or create unfair pressure.
Which connects back to well-being and burnout prevention, doesn't it? It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Very much so.
Yeah.
On the one hand, AI could potentially spot high activity periods and suggest breaks or help optimize schedules. There's that Engagedly stat about potentially reducing burnout risks by up to 20% with AI scheduling tools.
Okay, that sounds positive.
But the same monitoring can create intense pressure for digital presenteeism, that feeling you have to look busy online all the time.
The mouse shuffle.
Exactly, just to satisfy the system. It can totally backfire and increase stress. Finding that balance between useful insights and, well, trust is absolutely critical.
Let's look at some of those case studies your sources mentioned. Microsoft Places, for instance.
Right. By helping coordinate office days, early adopters apparently saw a 15% reduction in solo commutes. People weren't just driving in alone.
Okay.
And a 25% increase in cross-team in-person interactions, suggesting it helped make those office days more purposeful, more collaborative.
And Yarvis, the scheduling AI.
Yeah, that reportedly cut meeting scheduling time by 40%, which is huge. And it could integrate with security controls, which is important in some industries.
40% is impressive. And Cisco WebEx Assistant.
That uses things like voice commands for meeting controls, captures whiteboards, does action reports, but crucially, uses on-device AI for some of this.
Meaning the data stays local, more private.
Potentially, yes. It shows how AI can add features while trying to address some privacy concerns.
And looking ahead, more context-aware AI, multi-agent systems.
That seems to be the direction AI then anticipates needs in these hybrid settings, maybe different AI tools coordinating tasks behind the scenes.
So for you listening, whether you're fully remote, hybrid, or just working with colleagues who are, how are these tools changing how you collaborate? Or how you interact with your workspace when you're not all in the same room?
It's definitely reshaping that collaborative fabric.
Okay, moving beyond individual roles and where we work, AI is also enabling fundamentally new working models and structures, changing how whole teams operate, maybe even the structure of organizations.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting structurally. We're seeing the rise of truly blended human AI workflows.
Blended meaning AI isn't just a tool, but more like a coworker.
Kind of, yeah. Participating actively in end-to-end processes.
Your sources had that legal due diligence example, right?
That's a great one. The AI can sift through millions of documents incredibly fast, identify relevant stuff, index it, maybe draft initial summaries.
Good.
Then the human lawyers take that highly processed output and apply their judgment, their strategy, their expertise. It's not AI replacing the lawyer, but fundamentally changing the workflow.
But that requires pretty tight integration, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Sophisticated systems, reliable data pipelines, and really clear definitions of where the AI hands off to the human and vice versa. It's a deliberate process redesign.
And what about the gig economy? How's AI affecting that?
Your sources point to platforms using predictive models much more. AI-driven matching of skills to available gigs, anticipating demand, sometimes even involved in negotiating rates.
Creating a sort of intelligent gig ecosystem.
That's the idea. Aiming for maximum efficiency in matching supply and demand for specific skills. But
No, that's a but.
there's always a but. It raises big questions about transparency. How do these algorithms work? What about worker autonomy if an AI is controlling matching, pricing, even performance evaluation? Algorithmic accountability becomes really important.
Which ties into the whole global distribution and inequality issue, too. Remote work, powered by tech and AI, opens up global talent pools.
Which can be good, potentially. Access to more skills.
But the risk, your sources warn it could actually worsen income gaps.
Right. If workers in lower cost regions are competing directly with those in higher cost regions for the same remote tasks, it could put downward pressure on wages in some areas. Or create really intense competition for workers in expensive locations. Your sources mention different company approaches. Some use location-based pay. Others are looking at a one global rate idea. It's complex.
And the UK ONS data really highlights that divide, doesn't it? Hybrid work is common for higher earners, degree holders.
Yeah, around 50% of degree holders aged 30-49 work hybrid.
but much less common for lower-income workers, rural workers.
Significantly less. It shows a real structural divide. The sources talk about needing mitigation efforts like impact analyses, maybe minimum global wage floors for certain types of gig work, investing in local upskilling.
Then there's this concept of autonomous teams or platform-based structures, where AI is almost acting like a manager.
Yeah, orchestrating tasks within a system. Think digital twins in manufacturing optimizing workflows on the fly, or AI in project management assigning tasks based on dependencies and who's available.
So routine decisions shift to algorithms.
For operational stuff, potentially yes, with humans stepping in for exceptions, strategy, oversight, but that demands really clear guardrails, parameters, and traceable audit logs so you know why the AI made a certain decision.
And these models play out differently in different sectors.
Definitely. Your sources show how healthcare uses AI for diagnostics, support, and admin, but human care is still central. Finance uses it for trading algorithms, chatbots, but needs human oversight for risk and compliance. Education uses AI tutors, but relies on human teachers for support and broader development.
And regulation shapes it all too. IPEA, FINRA, GDPR.
Massively. Those regulations dictate how AI can be used, what data can be processed, what safeguards are needed in each specific industry structure.
So the bottom line seems to be that implementing these new blended models needs a really holistic strategy.
Absolutely. You need process mapping, building both the tech and the human capabilities, solid governance and ethics from day one, managing the culture change, and constantly measuring the impact. It's not just plugging in a new tool.
So, for you listening, do these ideas, blended workflows, AI-managed teams, globally distributed work, feel like science fiction? Or are you maybe already seeing hints of them in your own industry or potential future roles?
It's moving faster than many people realize, I think.
Okay, let's circle back and go a bit deeper on the human element, culture, and well-being. Because ultimately, that's what matters most, right?
Absolutely critical. If the tech doesn't work for the people, it doesn't work. We touched on burnout and psychological load. Your sources reiterate AI can potentially help. Spotting those risk indicators, suggesting interventions like focus blocks or breaks.
Yeah, the potential 15-20% reduction in self-reported burnout from AI scheduling suggestions is notable.
It is. But again, the sources hammer home the contrast. That potential benefit versus the stress if AI just feels like monitoring for punishment.
Which leads straight back to digital presenteeism and surveillance.
Exactly. That bossware approach. Your sources say it often just backfire.
How so?
It breeds mistrust. Leads to people trying to game the system, the mouse shuffle again instead of focusing on actual work. And it creates this constant low-level anxiety surveillance fatigue.
So what's the alternative?
Focusing on outcomes, not just activity. Using data in anonymized, aggregated ways for team insights, not individual tracking, building trust.
And how does AI interact with things like inclusion, empathy, and psychological safety? Can it help there?
Potentially, in limited ways. Your sources suggest AI could analyze things like meeting participation data, see if some voices are consistently quiet, or analyze sentiment in chat threads.
To flag potential issues.
Maybe. To prompt leaders to look closer, to foster more inclusion.
Yeah.
But the sources stress AI cannot create empathy or psychological safety. That requires active human leadership.
They mentioned AI check-in agents for well-being.
Yeah, but they immediately followed up saying human follow-up is indispensable. And AI asking, how are you, isn't the same as genuine human connection or support.
That really speaks to autonomy, trust, and accountability, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Introducing AI changes those dynamics.
Fundamentally, if you over-automate, you risk eroding autonomy. People feel like cogs. Your sources really emphasize involving employees in co-design workshops when developing or rolling out AI tools.
To build ownership.
Exactly. Build ownership and trust. And having really clear roles. Where does the AI recommend and where does the human decide? That human veto power. Plus, needing clear audit trails, knowing what the AI did and who overrode it, maintains accountability.
And underpinning all this successfully is change management and training.
Essential. The sources list key practices, map your stakeholders, pilot small first, create structured learning paths not just for specialists but basic AI literacy for everyone, get feedback loops going, reward the people who champion AI adoption positively.
It sounds like the whole future workplace culture is shifting towards being more, data-aware and adaptive.
I think that's right. More data-driven experimentation, continuous learning baked in, adaptive governance for tech. The successful cultures, according to your sources, will be those that really balance AI's efficiency with protecting human values, autonomy, purpose, connection.
And leadership narratives, cultural symbols matter.
They do. How leaders talk about AI, how it's visibly used that shapes the culture around it.
So for you listening, how can you contribute to a workplace culture that uses AI effectively, but also prioritizes well-being and trust? It's not just a top-down thing, is it?
Not at all. Everyone has a role in shaping how these tools are adopted and used day to day through communication and feedback.
Okay, let's zoom out one more time. What are the big driving forces behind all this? The organizational, economic policy factors.
Right, the systemic pressures. A major one is this tension between the promise of productivity and the reality of short-term disruption.
Meaning AI promises gains, but it takes time.
Exactly. Integrating AI often causes initial turbulence. The Stanford research your sources cite is telling. Companies adopting hybrid work and AI saw that 10-15% output increase, but only after a 6-month adjustment period.
So managing that productivity paradox is key for companies.
It drives how they approach implementation, maybe slower, more phased rollouts. Then there's regulation, policy, and the public good. Governments everywhere are trying to figure this out.
Balancing innovation and protection.
That's the tightrope walk. You see things like the EU's AI Act, classifying systems by risk, demanding transparency for high-risk workplace AI.
And the UK.
The Information Commissioner's Office is looking closely at ethical employee data use with AI.
It sounds like complex trade-offs.
Absolutely. Move too fast, you risk harm. Move too slow, you risk falling behind. Your sources suggest multi-stakeholder dialogues involving business, workers, policymakers are probably the best way to find that balance.
And a constant drumbeat in your sources is reskilling and workforce development.
Non-negotiable. Continuous learning isn't a perk anymore. It's essential for survival, really.
We're seeing big investments here. Corporate AI academies.
Yep. Partnerships with platforms like Coursera, Udacity, the World Economic Forum data. Your sources mention using sandbox pilots. Testing AI in a limited way first, tracking specific KPIs, hours saved, errors reduced, maybe faster project completion. Then using that data to project the ROI, usually over a 12-24-month time frame, before scaling up.
Makes sense. Test before you invest big.
Exactly. And overall, successful adoption needs that coherent strategic framework, a clear vision, realistic capability assessment, a roadmap, governance and ethics baked in from the start, and solid measurement.
So thinking about these big forces, regulation, business model shifts, training investments, how might these shape your near future at work? What opportunities or challenges do you see coming from these larger trends?
Yeah, these are the big currents affecting everyone's boat, so to speak.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up by pulling together some of the really key statistics from your sources and look at the potential road ahead.
Sounds good. The numbers definitely help ground this. On job transformation metrics, that estimate that by 2030, AI and automation could transform up to 30% of tasks within existing jobs globally. That's a good headline number.
30% of tasks. And sector-specific estimates, too.
Yeah, things like potentially 50% of manufacturing floor tasks being transformed, or 35% of finance middle office activities, shows it hits different areas differently.
And AI adoption rates are climbing fast.
Very fast. Your sources say 70% of enterprises globally are piloting generative AI. 70%. And 35% already had it in production environments as of mid-2025.
35% in production already. That's moved quickly.
It has. And while big companies lead, those low-code, no-code tools are helping smaller players get involved too, democratizing it somewhat.
And those productivity gains and time savings show up in the data.
They do. Knowledge workers reporting saving 4 to 12 hours per week on average using AI tools.
4 to 12 hours. That's significant personal time back, potentially.
Or time for other work, yeah. Customer service teams handling 20 to 40% more queries with AI help. Marketing teams doubling their campaign draft output.
But the key is what happens with that saved time, right?
Exactly. Is it reinvested in higher value work, training? Or does it just lead to doing more of the same or even headcount reduction? That's the organizational choice.
The talent market shifts and compensation numbers are also impossible to ignore.
Definitely. That AI skills premium is real and growing. Core AI engineers getting 20-35% higher salaries.
Wow.
And even non-tech roles that require AI literacy, seeing a 10-15% bump above market rate, plus that projected global shortfall of 250,000 deep learning specialists through 2026, it just screams high demand.
That skills gap and pay premium really show where the energy and investment is flowing.
For sure. But we also have to revisit that hybrid access gap and equity issue the stats highlight.
Right. The benefits aren't shared equally.
Not at all. Around 50% of knowledge workers have hybrid flexibility, often boosted by these AI tools, but only 5–10% of service or manual labor roles have that option.
And the UK data showed that income divide clearly. Nearly 50% of professionals over 50 pound work hybrid.
Compared to less than 8% under 20K. It's a stark difference. Your sources mentioned policy ideas to try and bridge this tax incentives, minimum rights, but it's an ongoing tension.
And companies are still split too, right? Some mandating office returns, others staying hybrid.
Yeah, about 45% of major U.S. firms mandating return to office versus 44% staying hybrid or remote. It's still very much in flux.
So these stats paint the picture now. But your sources also looked further ahead. Long-term outlook scenarios for 2035.
They did, offering 4 possible futures, basically.
Like what?
Well, there's an optimistic one. Augmented prosperity. Broad upskilling, good governance, AI creates growth and new jobs.
Okay, the flip side. Polarized fragmentation. Unequal access to AI and hybrid work deepens divides, more precarious gig work.
Then there was a more constrained one.
Regulated restraint. Heavy regulation slows innovation. Work is stable, but maybe siloed. Hybrid work is common, but not radically transformed.
And the most futuristic. Autonomous ecosystems, where advanced AI agents play a much bigger role in actually doing the work, and humans shift much more towards strategic oversight, exception handling, managing the AIs.
So 4 very different possibilities.
Right. And the point is, the future isn't predetermined.
So what does this all mean for you listening? These stats, they're not abstract numbers. They show AI's impact is real, it's significant, it's happening now. And those future scenarios, they really highlight that the choices we're all making today, businesses, governments, individuals, are actively shaping which of those futures we end up in.
Absolutely. So we've done this deep dive into your sources, and I think the big takeaway is that AI's impact isn't simple replacement. It's this really complex rebalancing act.
Between human capabilities and machine capabilities.
Exactly. It involves augmenting roles, rethinking where and how work happens, new structures emerging,
And constantly considering that human element, culture, well-being, trust.
and all driven by these bigger organizational, economic, and policy forces. The knowledge in your sources, it's relevant to pretty much everyone.
Yeah, these insights feel really actionable, don't they? Whether you're thinking about your own career path, how to lead a team, setting up remote work effectively, or just advocating for a healthier workplace culture with AI.
There's something in there for everyone. And maybe a final thought drawn from the sources for you to mull over.
Yeah.
Which of those future scenarios actually happens? The prosperous one, the fragmented one, or something else? It really seems to depend heavily on the collective choices we make.
Businesses, governments, workers, all playing a part.
Right. So the question for you is, what role can you play in your own context, your own sphere of influence, to help steer this incredible transformation towards a future that ideally benefits more people?
Something to keep thinking about. Keep digging into the material. Keep asking those questions.